How's everyone doing this morning? Awesome. Okay. So this morning we are going to talk a little bit about how to expand our life. This is the month where we learn how to expand our lives in different ways. And one of the things that I learned is, when I reflect upon my own life and how God expanded my life, is through living outside the comfort zone. So that's what we will be learning today. So tell your neighbor, get out from your comfort zone. Okay? Many of us would rather choose to live inside the comfort zone. Thanks. Okay, and this is just a little thing that I found. It says that, the 2% of all the people, they chose to live outside of this comfort zone. But that means the 98% of the population, they chose to live inside this comfort zone. Can everyone see what's the difference between living inside and outside the comfort zone? Okay, if you see that inside the comfort zone, the biggest thing is the reason why people stay inside the comfort zone is that they have fear. Okay? They have fear over here. What are they fearing about? Because to live outside of comfort zone, to be dragged outside of your comfort zone, you're going to see the unknown. You're going to face the unknown. Okay? You're going to face challenges. You're going to face change. Okay? So, the 98% of the population would rather live inside their comfort zone where it's safe. There's no fear because they know they can predict almost what's going to happen. Okay? But who in here want to live inside the comfort zone? Raise your hand. Who want to live outside the comfort zone? Amen? So let's learn today. The first thing that we need to face actually is to get over fear. A lot of the time, this is the biggest obstacle, this is the biggest challenge that prevents God's children to live outside their comfort zone. Okay? We're going to read from Matthew 10, verse 7 to 14. I'm sorry, it's a little long. But it's a story of how actually Jesus actually wants us, all of us, His children, His disciples, to live outside of our comfort zone. Okay? So I'm going to read it. It says, "Go and announce to them that the kingdom of heaven is near. Heal the sick, raise the dead, cure those with leprosy, and cast out demons. Give as freely as you have received. Don't take any money in your money belt, no gold, silver, or even copper coins. Don't carry a traveler's bag with a change of clothes and sandals, or even walking stick. Don't hesitate to accept hospitality, because those who work deserve to be fed." Next. "Whenever you enter a city or village, search for a worthy person and stay in his home until you leave town. When you enter the home, give it your blessing, and if it turns out to be a worthy home, let your blessing stand. If it's not, take back the blessing. If any household or town refuses to welcome you or listen to your message, shake its dust from your feet as you leave." Amen? So, this is a story about, at the end of, I would say, how do I say it? I would put it like the term, it's not really the exact term. I would say like at the end of the training where Jesus have felt like He's done, enough training for the disciples. at the end of it, he asked the disciples to, start going out to the people, start going out. But he said, when you go out, don't bring any money, don't bring even a change of clothes, don't bring anything for your own needs, okay? And when I saw this verse, I said, wow, if that was any one of us here, let's say Pastor Lucas, right now, we are in this training, we've been trained in AG, in BKC, and even like in this church, we've been trained for such a period of time, and then all of a sudden, for example, let's say Pastor Lucas come up to us and say, okay, right now, you have passed successfully all of your training, all the modules you need to do, you've passed it. So now you go to, wherever you go to this neighborhood and start to evangelize, start to heal the sick, start to perform the miracles that, you've seen me done before, but don't take anything with you. How would you feel? What would be the first thought in your head? What? It's crazy. It's crazy. I know. Challenging, yes. So, again, this is I believe that this is the kind of life, the kind of lifestyle that Jesus wants us to embrace. We live in this society where, we go to school and they teach us, and it's not just in you, it's me too in my profession, teach us to have plans for everything. Because you want to be able to predict everything, right? But, maybe in some situations, it's true that we need to plan, we need to have all those skills. But remember, when we follow Jesus in our journey with Jesus, if we want to see the miracles, if we want to see God's glory, we need to be able to say, God, if you want me to step out of my comfort zone, I will. Amen? So the Bible is filled with characters, with examples, who they live their life outside of comfort zone. Okay? These characters have overcome 3 types of fear. The most common fear that people have is, like I mentioned, is the fear of unknown, fear of failure, and fear of change. Okay, who in here likes to go into a situation where they don't know anything? Raise your hand. Nobody. Who in here likes to feel that they failed? Raise your hand. Nobody. Who in here likes to have a little bit of change from the daily, routine? Raise your hand. Okay, 1 person. Thank you, Ivana. We still have hope. Okay. So, we're going to see 3 different characters who overcome these fears, and we're going to see how they overcame the fear. So the first character, we're going to read from Hebrew 11, verse 8 to 10. Can I have David. David, can you come up here and read us the verse? The handsome guy in UCC.
Amen.
Okay. So can we read it together with David? 1, 2, 3.
By an act of faith, Abraham said yes to God's call to travel to an unknown place that would become his home. When he left, he had no idea where he was going. By an act of faith, he lived in the country promised him, lived as a stranger coming. Isaac and Jacob did the same, living under the same promise. Abraham did it by keeping his eye on the mountain city with real eternal foundations. The common fact go by God, period.
Amen? You should say amen at the end.
Amen.
Okay, so we're gonna learn from Abraham, even though it mentioned Isaac and Jacob, but we're gonna learn from Abraham, okay? Abraham, who I hope everyone in here knows about Abraham. Before he became Abraham, his name was Abram. And when his name was still Abram, this was in the early days, like when he was 75 years old. And God one day told Abram, and he already had wives, he's comfortable in his home. And God told Abram at the time, pack up all your belongings and go to a place I will direct you. And when I read the verse, I was looking for where is God telling him to go? And it just said, I will direct you to a place, And I remember as I was reading it, I said, God, where do you want him to go? And nowhere it said that, I will lead you to this city or this city. I want you to go pack up and go to the no. God just said, pack up your belonging and leave your house, and I will lead you. And when I read the verse, I said, oh my Lord, I hope that I never experience this in my life, because that would be really scary. If somebody were to come up to any one of us here and say, pack up your belonging, get a little suitcase, and get out from your house, I will tell you where to go. You'd be like, where are we going? Don't worry, I will tell you where to go. Okay, but where am I supposed to go? To the right, to the left? Don't worry, just pack up and we will go. But I saw that at the end of, if we read in Genesis, you guys can read it at home. If we read in Genesis, whenever God gave an instruction, at the end, he will always give a promise. He would say, and he said to Abram, I will make your descendants like the stars in the sky, like the sands on in a beach, so that nobody can, if they can count the stars in the sky, they can count your descendants. Okay, so the fear of unknown. How did Abram overcome the fear of unknown? Is he overcame fear of unknown by having stronger faith in God. Say with me, stronger faith in God. I believe Abram also faced with the same dilemma, especially he didn't just have a little suitcase and himself. He had wife, he has the maids, he has all the camels, the sheep. Yesterday we counted how much they cost. So he has to move everything, and then plus his nephew, he has to move everything and move out from his house. But he overcame the fear of unknown by having stronger faith in God. He knew who he was trusting. Amen? And as I mentioned before, even though I said God in my mind, I said, I hope I never experience this. But God wanted me to expand my life. He wanted me to start living outside of my comfort zone. And he started bringing me to a place where I felt this was really unknown. Because one day God told me, pack up your stuff. I was in Indonesia. Pack up your stuff and go back to Philadelphia. Go back home. And over there, I will tell you what to do. Actually, in my heart, I know God wanted me to continue with school. I thought he would say, take masters in business, because that's what I did. No, he completely took me to a different direction. Okay? And when he was saying that, in my head I said, God, I don't know why you want me to go, because I'm comfortable here. But because I was able to have stronger faith in God, because I know the God who gave the direction, I know who he was, then I just trusted him. He said, okay, go back to Philadelphia. At least I still have a city, a destination, okay? It's better than Abraham. So, I saw that every time I overcome the fear of unknown with stronger faith in God, I see how God expanded my life. I see how he put promises in my life, and he started to put it into realization. Who in here wants to see God's promise in your life become real? Amen? The second fear. How do we overcome the fear of failure? This is my personal favorite. 1 Samuel 17, 45 to 47. If you are taking notes, you can just take the notes and read it at home. But this is when David boasted. I call boast. Because David, this little kid, he was 17, and now I can call him a kid.
Oh, that's me.
David, yes. Like David here. Imagine him, and then he has to go against Goliath, this big giant. He was like more than 3 feet tall, 3 meters tall, 3 meters tall. And it says that even though David was small, but he knew David was inexperienced and he was small. Okay? I'm sorry, I mean not you, the King David. Okay? So, everyone in the military was scared of this big giant Goliath. Everybody who was trained to fight, okay? And here comes this little inexperienced guy who never been trained to fight properly and who never experienced battlefield. Yet he was able to overcome the fear of failure by what? By boasting in God's power. Okay? So, how do we apply in ourselves? I know that I've told this story many, many times. Many of you now know. In my program, in my nursing program, I really feel it. It's filled with people who are so afraid of failure. I mean, me too. I'm not going to say I'm not. But, every time that fear would come, and if you're bounded by the fear, you will be paralyzed. Okay? And I can tell you that in my program, actually all of my classmates, most of them have their master's degree. Most of them are practicing lawyers, attorneys. Some of them have their PhD. I mean, these are like top people. I don't even know what I'm doing there. But these people, they have such fear of failure. Because why? I see that the fear of failure comes when we rely on our own skills, our own ability to achieve something. Okay? But what does God want us to do? For us to live outside of our comfort zone, for us to, break away from the fear of failure. He wants us to boast. He wants us to have confidence in God, not in ourselves. Let me tell you, if I have confidence in myself, I would have been out the program long ago. Okay? Because I have no confidence whatsoever in myself, like zero. But every time the fear comes, every time we have to take exams, every time we have to do all these things that we're so fearful for, I take comfort in the fact that I have a big God, that I am in here because of my covenant with God. Amen? And how many of us, sometimes in situations where we have to fail, we blame ourselves, we get depressed, we dwell on our failure. But today, this morning, if we want to live outside of comfort zone, we're gonna have to face failure. Okay? And all of us, I hope, starting from today, when we have to come face to face with failure, that we are going to take confidence in God, in the God that we serve, in the God that we worship. Amen? And the last fear of change. How do we overcome fear of change? This is from Esther 4, 15 to 16. And we're going to talk about Esther. Esther was this orphan girl, nobody really cared except for the cousin who became her adopted father. And suddenly, she entered like a beauty pageant, and she was selected as the queen of Persia, okay? So from this small little immigrant girl nobody cared about, all the way to this queen now, who is, everybody cares about her, everybody want to be like her. She lives in a palace, everything is great. But what happens when her people was threatened to be killed? Her people was threatened to be destroyed. Okay, in Esther 4, verse 15 to 16, it says that Esther sent back her answer to Mordecai. Go and get all the Jews living in Susa together. Fast for me. Don't eat or drink for 3 days, either day or night. I and my mates will fast with you. If you will do this, I'll go to the king, even though it's forbidden. If I die, I die. Okay? It's not easy when you are already in a position of power. Suddenly, you have to make a decision that it can change your life forever. Okay? Especially if you're already comfortable. Remember my story, I was very comfortable living in Indonesia, working, and everything was great. But suddenly, when God asked me to do something to change, and I know it's going to change my life, I have the decision to either say yes or no. Esther had the decision to say yes or no. I mean, if she goes before the king, she could get killed. Okay? So, how did Esther overcome her fear of change? She overcome it by placing total obedience in God. Say with me, total obedience.
Total obedience.
Okay? And you will be amazed. Maybe you think, oh yeah, I know, like obey your parents, obey your authority, I know, Jay. But you will be amazed what obedience, a simple act of obedience, can bring to your life. Amen? And I want you to not just take notes. I mean, it's great, you can look back at it later, but starting from today, I want all of us to experience this and finally to live outside of our comfort zone. Amen? When we start living outside of our comfort zone, then we're living with God. Then that's where life actually begins. Amen? So I invite everyone to stand up.